Hello everyone. Got a different one for you today. Billy made the mistake of leaving me unsupervised for a week, so I replaced the kitchen sink, which she hates and gets constantly stained and she has to bleach, with a new stainless steel sink. I also put in a instant hot water heater so that she can make her tea instantly, and swapped out the garbage disposal for a frankly overpowered 2-stage 3/4 horsepower garbage disposal. Alright, so here's the sink. It's fiberglass, stains constantly. Billy's sick of it. So we're gonna do her a favor and surprise her while she's away. Down here, there's 2 issues we're gonna need to address. Possibly 3. So the first issue is the garbage disposal is hardwired and it is not plugged into, well, it's hardwired, which means it's not plugged into a receptacle. So I have to change this out and make that a receptacle, which is complicated by the fact that up here there's a switch and I gotta check to see how it's wired. Let's see if I gotta pull another line to be able to get constant power down here. Number 2 is the dishwasher is hooked up incorrectly. Right now the dishwasher is hooked up to cold. Yeah, so editor Rob here. This one's kind of stupid. Actually, the plumbing is correct. What's wrong is early on when we got the house several years ago, we had a leak. I'll show a picture of where it was. There was this convoluted set of fixtures underneath the sink, and I replaced it with PEX. At the time, I wasn't really thinking about the color codes, and to be honest, I just wasn't as rigorous about these types of things back then. So I put blue PEX there. Great, fix works, still good. Years later, here I am, looking in the sink, underneath the sink, and just assuming whoever put the blue PEX in there put it on the right side. So from that point forward, I've been assuming that the hot water is on the right and the cold water is on the left, which is completely wrong. That's not the convention in any American house in the last 50 plus years. It's just not how it works. So you're going to hear this over and over where I'm like, oh, the dishwasher's hooked up to cold, which is wrong, which would be wrong, but it is wrong because it's actually hooked up to hot. I'm just using a blue pipe for the hot. Everything else I'm saying about it is correct. I'm still going to need to add another angle stop, and all the other plumbing things I'm going to need to do are correct. Third of all is we're going to have to redo all this plumbing right here because we're going from a double basin to a single basin sink, which means the garbage disposal will be in the center. So the P-trap AAV assembly will need to be redone. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go cut the breaker, turn off the water to the house. It may not be clear from the video, but what I'm doing is I'm checking for potential from hot to neutral, from hot to ground, and from neutral to ground. You have to do all 3 of those tests before you can be sure a circuit is not energized. Removing the hot line and load wires from the switch, treating the circuit as if it's energized, i.e. not touching the exposed parts of the wire, even though we know the circuit's de-energized. We proved it just a moment ago. So I'm working alone. I'm trying to exercise the one hand only rule, being cognizant of where my other hand and the rest of my body is in terms of what I'm touching. I'm disconnecting the ground wire by unscrewing the ground screw. Good. Okay, we've revealed the wiring to the disposal. We have a 14-2 wire with ground, which means we have exactly as many conductors as you would need if we were just going to have the garbage disposal be switched by the switch that was up there above the sink. We can't just put a receptacle on the end of those wires and plug the tankless and the disposal on there, because the tankless would be shut off whenever the disposal's not running. So we have to come up with another solution to be able to get switch functionality on the disposal and continuous power to the tankless. I will say it'll be easier to think about this if we get the sink out of the way, so let's do that. I am draining the sink water supply pipes. The water main is off right now. I am cutting the silicone away from the edge of the sink. As you'll see in a moment, this is rarely sufficient to actually release the sink, because most of the silicone is underneath the flange of the sink. It's not actually there at the edge. Well, committed now. Get this valve off. Which is better not have. Yeah, it's got a little bit of pressure. We need to get all that pressure out. Let me go turn on the basement sink and bleed out that hot water. Garbage disposal hose. Yep, water. I already know the P-trap has water in it. Oh, come on. Fucking flatheads. Okay, he should just pop right out. Yep. Okay, do I have any give anywhere? And let's just make sure there's not like one little clip hiding back here. Yeah, the entire sink is glued in, for sure. Cool. Cool, bro. We might have to use a putty knife to even release the sink. Actually, kind of look at it in the leak. This in place. Let's get this off. Sprayer. Alright, so the goal is now let's get that blade really deep. Hope we don't scratch up anything that is actually needed or will be visible. As that comes out. Not even close. Yeah. With the power of positive thinking, we can destroy a plastic putty knife and make no progress at all. I'm just looking for any chink in the silicone armor. Alas, there is none so far. I'm hoping that scratching sound is the sink. Not even close. Getting a sensation over here. Looks like the sink is starting to come loose on this end. Plastic putty knife abuse. At this point, I'm just creating more work for myself. Once I got the trim puller wedged even a little bit under the flange of the sink, then it was time to switch to the putty knife. Because the trim puller is too thick to be able to drive it all the way in, because the silicone, there's just still too much silicone in there holding the sink down. and I can't get the utility knife totally flat up against the quartz of the countertop, so you can't get that knife blade in there deep enough. This was the time to switch to the putty knife, which of course I did not do.
Ready to come out. Jesus. Definitely not what this tool is meant for. Okay. Got some progress here. Dangerous. Drywall knife. Let's try that. That was the tool. Yeah, that's the tool. All right. Okay. Get this nut out.
Silicone adheres well to many materials, but surprisingly one of the materials it doesn't adhere to well is silicone. So in order to put the new sink in, we have to completely remove all the existing silicone. Going to do a two-stage process here. First, the bulk removal with the drywall knife, and then a more precise removal with the utility knife blades.
Alright, I think it's prepped. Let's vacuum this mess up. We're gonna move on to the next step. Lifesaver. Okay, see now I got a better idea of what's going on. I should probably dry fit the sink before I go to the hardware store. It's obvious based on this, and I don't want to deal with this, that we're not going to be able to do an undermount sink, which is fine. So someday if we ever change the stone, change cabinets, maybe we'll reconsider that. But for now, this is what it is. That looks good. This fits. I've decided on a plan of action for this. Instead of trying to pull another wire, I am going to just use an Insinkerator air button garbage disposal kit, and I'm going to turn this receptacle box into just a double receptacle. So in order to make the dishwasher wire work, i.e. be always connected, I am going to wire nut the hots together, line and load. Alright, now the garbage disposal circuit is good to go. Okay, it helps turn the main mic on. Dumbass. I'll just be using the scratch audio for that. Alright, I am going to have to pigtail this. And I don't want to do it with wire nuts, because if we start getting into four-way, it gets a little crazy. Strip to 11 millimeters. Speak American, unless you're a scientist or engineer. That's actually solid. Again, we're not using the wire nuts here because when you start having this many 12 gauge conductors in an older box, things get a little tight. Good. I'm gonna need to make the other end longer. Okay, those are all pretty tight. Now, we're gonna put electrical tape on here just so these don't accidentally pop out. Remember, we're not using the electrical tape for anything actually electrical in terms of insulating or anything. So just a little bit, just to keep the levers pinned in place. All right. Same thing with hot.
It may not be clear for those non-electricians watching, but I should not have been able to pull that wire out of the Wago.
Gotta put it all the way in, dumbass. Nope, it's still pulling out.
We can get into a big, long philosophical conversation about Wagos versus wire nuts, why Wagos are safe, and if they're safe.
Too short. Absolutely too short.
The fact that they're UL listed means they should be safe, but does that mean they're safe?
Too long.
The important point to make here is that Wagos have failure modes, as do wire nuts. I think the failure modes of Wagos
that's substantially better.
are easier to trigger than it is once you get used to properly doing a wire nut, because when you do a wire nut you use your alignments to pre-twist it all together and then you cut off the end so you got this clean smooth end of the multiple wires, then you put the wire nut on. You can be pretty confident that that connection is going to hold.
Just a little tape to hold down the latches.
With a Wago, on the other hand, if you don't strip it to just the right length, you could be in a situation, which I think is happening here, where just a little bit of the insulation is making its way into the clamping mechanism.
Okay, that's good.
So you put the wire in, it looks like it's mostly right, you close the lever down, and then you're able to pull it back out because the soft insulation is what's being clamped onto, not the actual copper of the wire. The other failure mode for Wagos, you'll see here soon enough, is even with the tape on there, the levers can still be popped back open enough for the wires to slip back out. And this happens especially when we're trying to shove that big wad of wires back into the box. All that being said, I still use Wagos when they make sense. And a lot of times Wagos make sense when stuff is hard to reach, you don't have a lot of length of wire to work with, and when you're connecting disparate wire gauges together.
Black to brass, white to light has always been my mnemonic to remember these. Okay, finally, this is where it starts to matter how we're going to orient these. Okay, that's how it's going to be.
I need to pause here and make note of the fact that the wire is already starting to slip out of the neutral Wago.
Good. Everything feels tight. Good. Now, we get to have the ass-eating good time of shoving everything back in and not creating a short. That's not a good sign. Wires are popping out of Wagos.
Note I just removed the electrical tape from that Wago. You're about to see a shining example of ADHD in action.
Okay. It was not a failure of the Wago. It was a failure of my tape. Oh, did I just not f***ing tape it? Oh my god. What an idiot. Okay, that was entirely my fault. Okay. Confidence restored in the Wagos. For what they are. Actually, nah. That's twice now. And that one's, no. Yeah, no, okay. Wagos are not gonna do it. Well, I don't know if you saw that neutral pop out, but that is not going to fly. Go get the alignments and hope I have bigger wire nuts. That's really bad. really, really bad. You're going to pigtail into this receptacle, and he's going to connect to the other one.
In the future, if we ever redo the backsplash, I'll pull another wire up to that box so we have a dedicated circuit for under cabinet lighting. I'm not a huge fan of connecting receptacles to each other, but it's in the same box.
Okay, that's better. Alright. Nothing should pull out now. Let's do it again. I feel like an asshole because the electrician who did this wiring originally did a good job and left decent wire length. And of course my ass is like, oh, I'm gonna stick a Wago on here because it'll save some space. Ended up not saving space. Ended up destroying my confidence in Wagos, and I ended up having to cut the wire shorter. Okay. Can we say tight fit?
It's hard to see from this angle, but that neon yellow piece of plastic I'm sticking behind the yoke of the receptacle is to space it out because the box is inset too far from the wall material and the backsplash tile.
What the fuck? What is this shit? Okay. There's something back there blocking it.
This is the biggest reason why I originally chose the Wago, because the Wagos sit much flatter in the box and you have more room to push the receptacle in evenly.
Oh god, man. Screwless wall plate? It's just an excuse to not bundle screws. I'm an idiot. I didn't even look when I was buying it. Almost there. Come on. I don't quite understand how they're vertically oriented so differently, but they are. And it sucks. And it's pissing me off. Alright. I guess I should turn the breaker on before I get carried away here. I'm gonna go do that. Correct wiring. Correct wiring. Correct wiring. Correct wiring. Test the ground fault. Yep. I have more screws, which I will get later. I just need to move on. Now that this is working. Alright, so next step. We need to get a junction box right here. Okay, so the box needs to protect, but it also needs to screw in to the studs, which we believe are right here. So we're gonna knock out this one right here. Okay, knocked out. Next we're gonna put an NM clamp in here. That hit a stud, and the answer is no. Okay, that's a stud. That hit wood. Structural drywall. When attaching GFCIs, you gotta remember there's a line side and there's a load side. Not every brand is necessarily gonna do this where they put a sticker over the load side. It's a warning, but it is marked which side is the line side. The line side is what is gonna hook up here. Load would be if we had another circuit further down, another receptacle that we wanted also GFCI. But we don't. Oh, I hate cutting wire. But I gotta do it. It's a shame this box is basically like shit. Because I couldn't find the damn stud. And that really irks the shit out of me. Because supposedly this screw went into a stud. Now I'm starting to wonder if that's just a piece of blocking. Nah. It wasn't in a stud. It was shit. We're gonna do this right. Get some proper anchors. Release the cable. No drill needed. Now that feels a lot better. Let's just start over here. This is 14 gauge, not 12. Okay, good. Ah, shit. Forgot to ground the box. Gotta ground the box. So if you weren't too traumatized by the fall of my drill. Shit. Screwdriver.
That green wire nut is called a greenie. It lets the ground wire pass through it, through the hole in the top, so I don't have to create a pigtail.
Cat. That nonsense is done. Let's try this again. Ah, shit.
The metal plate doesn't screw in separately. It screws in with the receptacle.
Now we try. There we go. Alright, I'm gonna turn the brake on. Good. Good. GFCI test. Boom. Okay. We now have a full-time outlet here. The next thing we got to do is we got to deal with this plumbing. Once we do that, we can start assembling. Oh, got it. Finally. Yeah, so I don't want to go through that again. Ah, shit, I don't have the tool to ferrule off. Idiot. Okay. You ain't getting that off. Let's cut it. Okay. Deburr it. And chamfered properly. Use that to make a line.
A Sharkbite Max coupling was chosen for this application.
It's definitely not on.
It'll be quick to remove when we replace the CPVC without having to mess with the PEX at all. You only have to hold the fitting in place for a few seconds while the PEX starts to contract around it again. While I was still thinking about how I was going to lay everything out inside there, I hooked up the dishwasher line, which, yes, that is the cold. as we talked about earlier on.
Yeah, you know what I didn't do? Grab my pencil. Oh, come on. Whoops.
That piece right there is the quote-unquote on-demand heater, which is actually about a 3/4 gallon tank and a heating element, plus a thermostat and whatever safety doohickeys.
This motherfucker better be level. Oh no, I don't like quite that up so much, but it's fine. Okay. Filter here.
I'm quote-unquote pre-drilling the holes for the expansion anchors that are going to be used to hold the filter mount. Snap the anchor, hole wasn't big enough.
Being lazy, dude. That's one way to do it. Get in there.
I kept overdriving the screws with the impact and it would push the filter mount up one side or the other, so I resigned to using the manual screwdriver.
Yeah. That works. I forgot the hammer arrestor. So the hammer arrestor is now on the dishwasher line, and I have actually both hot and cold supply on right now. I've got them on just so we can make sure the fitting doesn't start leaking. All right, now I'm planning the routing for the filter. So the filter is going to hook up to one of these on the cold. Yeah, I think that's going to work. Okay, this on, this on,
Quick primer on under sink
and this on.
faucet supply lines. So your standard PEX line that is running to the kitchen sink faucet, the hot and cold, is going to be a 3/8 inch outside diameter.
Okay, what are we talking about here, buddy?
That filter line that you see there is a 1/4 inch outside diameter.
What is that supposed to attach to?
Both of them use compression fittings. However, obviously, a 1/4 inch compression fitting is not going to fit on a 3/8 inch fitting. So I'm going to have to go to the hardware store and get a 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch compression fitting union.
Inlet is 1/4 inch.
It might not be easy to see, but I'm putting on the nut, then the ferrule or the sleeve, which actually applies the compression to the tube, and then finally a brass insert that prevents the tube from being crushed by the ferrule.
Test, test, test. Make sure that washer's in there. Otherwise, it's not a compression fitting. Sink top switch kits from Insinkerator.
You'll have to forgive the camera perspective, but all I'm doing is screwing the pressure switch to the side panel of the cabinet.
It's 14.5 inches away.
I'm going to spare you watching this at regular speed, but basically what I'm doing is triple checking the distance from the hole on the right side to the middle hole so I can reproduce that on the left. And also I'm going to be checking the clearance for the proposed hole location on the left and the stone underneath to make sure that the air switch will actually fit there. Obviously drilling this hole will void the warranty and the ability to return the sink, so might as well get this right on the first try.
Be so careful with this finish.
I'm using a Phillips screwdriver as a punch here to make a small impression where I'm going to drill to help the drill bit not slide around as much as I'm starting the hole.
Wow, that hole's drifted quite a bit from where I put it. There we go. I have penetration. Okay, that's just melting. That is not cutting. Oil.
Yeah, sorry for covering the view with the oil. I assure you nothing exciting is going on there other than the hole getting bigger.
Yeah, I think that's 1 1/4. Clean the hole out. Nope, a little bit further. There we go. Boom. That's good to go. It's actually fairly smooth. It's obviously not machine cut, i.e. factory cut, but it will work. It actually looks not bad for what it does. I can hear the switch.
The plastic nut driver tool came with the sink set.
God damn it, I knew I was gonna. I even tried to position it out of the way and then the last freaking second. There. Yeah. Okay.
That little black plastic piece stops the hose from slipping back through too far and falling out the front of the faucet. This is a lot easier to do while the sink is still out. So what I'm doing here is I'm adjusting the counterweight for the hose to give out just enough, and then the weight will be right there in the bend when the hose is fully extended. Got it about 90% here, and then we'll have to tweak it once the sink's in place and we have to work around the existing plumbing that's in there. Slight turn backwards to seat it, and then it's much easier to screw on.
Okay. Cool. The sink is ready to be installed. Oh. We're not ready to put the sink in yet. That'd have been an oopsie. Garbage disposal first. This seems dangerous. So that should loosen that up enough so I can spin this.
That substance is plumber's putty. It's used to provide a watertight seal between the sink flange of the garbage disposal and the sink itself.
Any excess putty can be trimmed, so it's okay to go overboard.
You can be crazy liberal with the amount of the stuff that you use.
Still not enough. There might be enough.
Because any excess will squeeze out of the sink flange as you tighten the bolts down from the bottom, and you can just stick it right back in the tub to use for another time.
Play-Doh skills have declined. Paper gasket.
So this assembly here is the quick release mount for the garbage disposal. It's kind of a pain in the ass to do single-handedly because you gotta hold those pieces together and then slide the snap ring on and snap the snap ring in place. Once the snap ring's in place, it's super easy. Then you just tighten the screws to pull the sink flange down from the top of the sink, and you've got a sturdy mounting assembly that you can just easily spin the garbage disposal onto.
Not quite. There we go. Now it's on. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get them slightly snug. Big wad of putty got cut out by tightening. You can reuse all that putty. A little more putty. That's it. We're good. Yeah, I just realized I didn't have the drain in there centered. Not go in perfect.
Now it's just an iterative process of tightening it a little bit, pushing it back in place, tightening it a little more, pushing it back in place, tightening a little more, until eventually it's pretty much there, and then giving it the final tighten. I definitely should have checked where the flange was before I really started cinching down the first time, but all in all this took 10 minutes to fix.
Okay, that feels pretty good. It's actually pretty well centered. And these are about as tight as I'm going to make them. Okay, now we can install the sink.
The sink kit comes with a box of mounting clips that you can use to pull the sink down into the stone from underneath by tightening them down. There's just not enough room in this installation to do that. So you'll see the improvised solution I use instead to hold the sink in place while the silicone cures.
Mounting clips won't work on that side. Yeah, okay. Mounting clips aren't happening. 33 inches, 17 and a half.
So I expect myself to make silly mistakes like that. So what you'll see, especially when it's an important measurement like this, and I know it is, where I need to know where the exact center of the sink is and put a mark on it.
17 and a half.
I will draw the mark and then measure it from both sides of the sink and make sure the measurement is the same.
Whoa, idiot. 33 inches. That's 16 and a half, you moron. This is why we double check. Okay, 16 and a half, 16 and a half, close enough. This is a moment we've all been waiting for. Is there anything else I need to do down here? Major. Nope. All we need to do is hook up the water supply, plug this in. The disposal will be done from underneath using this quick fitting. The plumbing, maybe we can try and dry fit the plumbing first. That might be a little easier if we do that first. Because we know we're gonna have to cut this. Might have to cut this whole damn assembly. Yeah, and that'll be a lot easier if we do this ahead of time. Let's do that. With the sink approximately where it's going to be.
I am attaching the P-trap inlet pipe directly to the disposal. I love that it's 90 degrees. That makes it a more compact installation underneath the sink.
Pretty straightforward.
That is the power cord for the garbage disposal. It does not come with the kit normally. You have to purchase it separately. It's pretty easy to install. Remove the screw, push it in, screw it down, good to go.
So simple, even I can probably eventually get it. Once I get the screw out of the way. Nice. Okay, did we have to do that yet? No, that was pretty stupid, because now I can't stand it up. Whatever. Whatever. Not seen off camera, I took the dishwasher thing out so that that tube's open, and I took the plug back off so I can put the disposal down flat on the ground for a minute while that tube's in the way. Okay. We gotta cut some pipe. Come on. Well then, I think this is the only way this is gonna work. Is this just comes like this, P-trap, and straight into there. Yeah. So wherever that sanitary tea goes, it goes. And we can just rotate this and try and use as minimal of room as possible. What height do we want the trap arm? And what height does the AAV need to be above the flood line? We take those two measurements ahead of time, then we can build this outside. Okay, so let's say that's approximately 11.5 inches off the floor, or off the, whatever the hell that's called, bottom of the cabinet. The measuring tape is 3 1/8 inches. So, let's say we want the AAV to be about 25 inches. Can't see shit. I'm also having second thoughts on where I put this. This might have been a mistake. And by might have, I mean it is almost certainly a mistake. I might be totally sick of this shit. Yeah. Good enough. Now that will not be in the way from the disposal. So even if we just dry fit and just say it, I'm gonna put it right here. This thing should still clear this. Ooh, we're at 12.5 right now. Okay, let's load up. Part of me says I should wet fit that one more time. Dry fit, I mean. Part of me that says that is agreed with by all other parts of me. So that's what we're gonna do. Should be 32 1/4. So you want 16 1/8. You can't see what I'm doing, but all I'm doing is making sure that my proposed trap location will work.
That is a deburring tool from Reed. You put it on the end of the pipe and it's got a little blade and it spins around and cuts a chamfer into the top of the pipe so that it can fit all the way into the hub when you put the glue in and push the pipe in.
Only need one side right now. Good, 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 good. Sani needs to be primed on both hubs. That is more than enough. It's in there. Yeah, let's do that first. Boom, boom. Oh, there's still it's sticker. God damn it. Hurry the f up before the glue sets. Fucking a whoever did that is an asshole. Shit. Glue. Motherfucker. Okay, remember this is down. Don't f that up. Not your prettiest work. That is for damn sure. But it's under a sink. Take the sink out for hopefully the last time. Alright, that's the bird. And chamfered. Ah, this sucks. Oops, got it on the inside. Okay, since we're gonna really struggle to get around here, let's just make sure we put extra in the hub. All the way down and rotate. That's it. Alright, we got our center line. Make sure we still got it on the sink. Yeah.
A few helpful tips when working with silicone. 1, it doesn't cure instantly, so you have a little bit of working time, so you don't need to rush. 2, you don't need quite as much as people think you do. 3, under no circumstances should you try and wash it or your hands off with water. That will cause the silicone to cure in your hand, and it will make a god-awful mess. If you need to get it up quickly, use acetone. Or better yet, just let it cure and then peel it off after it's cured.
Okay. I think we're good. We're good. Maybe a little in the back, but I think we're good.
If it looks like I missed a significant amount of the silicone, I did. However, I'm editing this a few weeks later and it was still plenty to hold the sink in place.
Alright, that's mostly centered. We completely missed our bead in the back. So let's slide back. Alright, that's about centered. That's good. 2 inches. Two inches. Inches. Alright, that looks pretty square. Silicone makes a huge f***ing mess. So we'll just get as much off as we can. We'll go back in a second with plastic putty knife and get all this extra off the counter. Whoops. Don't do that. You need that. Shit. Just stick it back in there. Making a mess. Get some weight in here. Like, pronto.
That is a 50-pound bag of Schluter All Set Thin Set, conveniently sitting 5 feet away in the morning room because we still haven't finished the bathroom.
There we go. Whoa, I was not expecting that. Well, I hope there's enough silicone there to hold that. Note, I am not using water to try and clean this up. That would be an absolute disaster. Definitely do not ever try and do that. Okay, so it's 2 1/8 on the round part. It is not 2 1/8 on the round part. Two and an eighth. I'm going to assume that goes right there, seeing as how there's a lock thing right there. I'm going to assume that goes there because that's the only thing that'll fit. Maybe. Okay, good. That's goes on all the way. I think I was right. This does go on here. Yep, it does. Okay. Good. Okay. Make sure this is really dangling. I'm gonna slowly turn that on. That's all good. Turn the dishwasher back on. Yep. Faucet is good. Alright, now this is where we could have a disaster. The hot one. Alright, we have a leak right here. Oh, that ain't good. There. Let me get that pressure out of there. Now, I never really trusted this, because we don't even know if this is necessarily the correct part for this application. Basically got a 3/8 to 1/4 inch union on here, union reducer. If it was right, okay. It's all the way on. It's not leaking. Okay. Disposal on the quick release. Which I'll admit is really not that hard. That was easy. And then the great thing about that is you can still rotate it. Now I have no leaks on the filter. Garbage disposal hose. Well, that's confidence inspiring. That needs a hose. 100% needs a hose clamp. Looks good. Still get to those. Ah, you flathead motherfucker. Okay. Let's lock the garbage. There we go. I think we're locked. Yep. Alright, cool. Plug the garbage disposal in. Plug the remote hose in. Which, for the love of God, we need to cut because this is too long. We'll deal with that in a minute. Disposal might turn on. Nope. That works. Hot water. It's turned on. Cold water works. Oh yeah, you can hear it flash vaporizing inside the hot water heater. That's hot. I forgot to turn cold on. Alright, let's test the filtered water. Still a little cloudy. Still working the air bubbles. Yeah, there's still air in there. And that is definitely getting warmer. Now, even though it's tankless, it still has its... Oh yeah, that's definitely getting hotter. Oh yeah, you can hear the hot water heater. Yeah, it's bringing that shit up to a fucking boil. Holy cow. See if you can hear it. It's not quite steaming yet, but it's already too hot for me to hold where the water is. This thing's only been on, what, 5 minutes? Alright. One last feel for leaks, and then we will wait until tomorrow for the silicone to cure on the sink, take the all set out, and then I think we're good to go. Oh, not a lot of leaks. I'm actually quite impressed. Alright. Until next time. Alright folks, it has been a few weeks. The system is working great. I just wanted to come back in here and get a shot of the plumbing actually hooked up correctly. Within minutes of me having stopped the recording, after finishing the install, I realized that the hot and cold were reversed. They were miscolored. My own doing. This is what it looks like. This is what all the stuff in there. Garbage disposal works great. Sink works great. Even that cutting board ended up being way cooler and more useful than I thought it would be.
Well, if you managed to watch that entire video, I'm impressed. This is a different format with Billy not present. This is how some of the construction videos of the new house are going to go, although I'm going to do a better job in the future to wear my mic and stop and explain things as opposed to just winging it like I did with this project. As always, thank you for watching and catch you on the next one.